I'm Serena Williams, and I'm healthier on Ro. I've lost 34 pounds in a year with GLP-1s, diet, and exercise. On Ro, you can access GLP-1 options, including the first FDA-approved GLP-1 pill for weight loss. Go to ro.co/journey to see if you qualify. 14 to 20% average weight loss in 1 year in non-diabetics with obesity or overweight with a weight-related medical condition versus 2.2% to 3.1% in placebo arm. RX only. To stay informed about serious side effects, go to ro.co/safety.
Welcome back to Still a Part of Us. We just had a wonderful conversation with Julie about her daughter Naia, and it was heartbreaking and also really reflective. Julie it's been a little bit since Naia passed away, and so it was really interesting to see how much she has processed and grown through all of that. So I'm excited to have this additional conversation with you, Julie. So welcome back.
Happy to be here.
So will you tell everybody what happened to Naia and how long ago she was born?
Yeah, so in April 2016, my daughter Naia was stillborn at 24 weeks pregnant when
Okay.
she was my first pregnancy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would highly recommend listening to Julie's story of Naia, and because you'll know that she has had a number. I mean, even just getting pregnant up to that point was quite a process in itself, a whole journey, a whole grieving. There was a lot of grief. It sounds like that was involved in that too. So that made it really tricky. Julie, my first question, and this was something I neglected to actually include in our last conversation, is when the doctors or did was there anything that pointed to why she passed away um, at the time of the birth? Did they say anything about it or?
No, so they asked me if I went to an autopsy, and I
Okay.
said yes, and everything, all the tests came back normal. There
Okay.
was nothing, yeah, there was no indication of why this would have happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
And gosh, in that too, we have something similar, and it's just like nothing. We don't really have anything in
I was like,
particular.
that felt even worse to me. It
Yeah.
felt even worse to me because I'm just like, well, just like tell me something was wrong so that this was supposed to happen. Because I'm like, people don't just die for no reason.
Yeah.
Like that's the feeling. That's the
Yeah.
feeling of like, I've never had an old person being like, oh, they just died. Like,
Yeah.
but what they, well, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's
that was,
usually something that yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that is I think that in itself is can be frustrating. So
yeah.
and you also talked about how you guys got pregnant around 13 weeks after your daughter had passed away.
Yes.
So within 3 months you were pregnant again. Can you talk a little bit more about that process and pregnant after loss as well as having a parenting after loss when you actually gave birth to him? Can you go into that? Because I am actually very curious about how that process was for you.
Yeah. Because even if I start off at the trying to conceive after loss, that's kind of where it started. Like I was
Yeah.
7 weeks bereaved when I was 7 days bereaved when I was starting to track my fertility. And
Yeah.
I bought the fertility sticks. I'm like, okay, let's get going back in. And I feel like um, I brought a lot of fear into to the next pregnancy because I
Yes.
obviously had fear of this baby dying, and I couldn't emotionally connect
Mhm.
with him
Mhm.
for years. It took me years to be able to emotionally connect with him. And the whole time while I was pregnant, obviously I was very nervous. They gave me more ultrasounds than
Yes.
necessary, but just to make me feel a little bit more secure. And then close to the same time when she died, he stopped growing as much as he was. So at 20 weeks pregnant with my living son, he started to, yeah, slow down. And I was just like, oh no, like this literally can't be happening again. And I went on bed
Oh,
rest.
okay.
So I went on bed rest, and he ended up being born at 39 weeks or 38 and a half weeks,
Okay.
and it's fine. But I had to go on bed rest to
In
allow
order
his,
to
yeah, in order to have that. Yeah. So it was very stressful, very, very
yes.
stressful. And I wasn't addressing my grief. Like I wasn't having regular emotional support to talk about what happened, to unpack it. I was just focusing on, okay, can we get a living child?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we get a living child? And then, yeah, when he was born 2 days before her 1 year anniversary.
Oh,
Uh, so I was,
yeah.
yeah, it was hard. It was very, when I look back on it now, I'm like, oh, that's why it was like so intense. And I can still, there's emotion, there's stuff that I got to heal from that. But it's like same hospital, same doctor, same time of year, same, like, I'm giving birth.
Yeah.
Um, and it was, yeah, a similar thing. And I don't get too much into that labor, but that labor was a bit longer, and obviously it was much stronger because he was
Mm-hmm.
a full size baby. But there was like a little bit of hemorrhaging as well. So there was like my subconsciously remembering things, you know what I mean?
Oh,
And then
no.
finally getting to that point where like he comes out and you're just like, okay, where's the crying? Like, like when is
You
it
wait
gonna
for that.
happen? Like it
Mhm.
just felt like forever. And then he cried. And then the first thing I said was, is he cute? And then they put him on me. And then this like feeling of dissociation of like, wow, there's this living baby now. And like, what do I do? I was filled with like so many emotions. And in the early years of being a bereaved mom raising a rainbow baby, there was like this hyper vigilance of like making sure that he had like all his needs met, and just like
Yes.
really crazy, like
Yes.
crazy making. And I didn't sleep. I took like an excessive amount of notes of his well-being, of like, when did he go pee? When did he go poo? When did he wake up? When did like, just like obsessed with his life,
Yeah.
obsessed with his life. And yeah, my husband's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. And I had no idea back then that this was grief. I thought this was just like normal parenting. You just like kind of go crazy. Like, because I didn't know that. And it wasn't until um, my son was about 2, we had moved across the country. And I think that was a grief move as well, but it was the best decision we ever made.
Okay.
But when he was 18 months, we had spent some time in Hawaii. And
Mhm.
when we came back to the East Coast of Canada, it was winter. And I was like, I literally can't live here.
Yeah.
So then we sold all of our stuff and we moved across the country with 6 bags and our baby, full of grief, to a new country, to a new city, trying to start again.
Yeah.
And around the same time, within that year, that's when COVID happened.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Yes.
yeah, so that's when COVID happened, and that's when I was like filled with all this grief, and I couldn't parent. Like I just couldn't parent. I was trying to listen to my son's feelings about going to sleep. And I was like, I can't even listen. I'm full of so much rage. I don't know why I'm acting like this.
Mm.
And that's when I started to like feel my emotions about the present. And then it slowly over the years trickled back to my daughter and then other life experiences that needed
Yeah.
to be felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just it's so yeah, isn't it interesting how yeah, grief is real tricky. I mean, it's got to
Yeah.
be addressed at some point in time or else it will come back in
Yeah.
other ways that you don't expect it to. So,
Yeah, and it took me years to be able to get to a place of safety in my relationships, in my body, in order to be able to grieve the loss of my daughter. Because when I go back to like, I wasn't raised like that. I was raised to being good and just to zip up and to shut up. And then when I got to I had to learn how to feel again.
mhm.
I had to learn how to feel my emotions so that I could hold space for my grief. And now I'm 10 years out and I still have fragments of different experiences from that small 24-hour window, just that traumatic day in itself. And still going back and being able to feel what I needed to feel in
Yeah.
those moments. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and
All parenting.
you need to feel it. It's so
Yeah, you have to feel it. And I was just like, wow. And so my biggest takeaway, or like the pain, is like, if I would have had a listener or the knowledge or the understanding or being raised knowing that you need to feel your emotions, there would have been a lot less trauma. Um, there's loss that's still there, but the trauma of not being able to feel my emotions and express myself in those moments is what I harbored and kept for like a long time,
mhm.
like years.
Yeah. So when you did move, I guess during COVID, when you were feeling all that rage,
Yeah.
and your husband's like, "What's going on?" Like, there's he could obviously tell there was something that you were not in a good place.
Yeah.
What were the steps that you ended up taking to help you start realizing, "Oh, there's more to
There's
this
something
than."
else underneath this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the first step was, so that day when I was trying to put my son to bed and I didn't have the emotional
Yeah.
capacity to listen, we switched out. My husband went in. I cried in front of the fireplace, and I had this like awakening of like, oh, there's something with my childhood. There's like, maybe my dad used to act like this, or my mom. Like that was kind of like a thread. And then I found a parent coach, and I was like kind of working with them like a little bit. And I think at that time I found there's a parenting connection-based parenting called Hand in Hand, and they offer kind of like emotional support and ways to connect with your kid. So I started to use those tools, and that was
Okay.
very supportive, having listening partnerships. And then I also got into doing yoga training,
Oh,
yoga
okay.
teacher. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
got some certifications, and that took me into a huge inner healing experience. Again, not touching on the grief so much of my daughter, but just like preparing myself to what would be years later to go deeper into what needed to be healed.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
then, so you're figuring out some stuff about your childhood that also needed to be addressed. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's what happens. And sometimes you
Yeah.
feel like,
You
oh,
just unlocked it. I was like, there's a
yep,
lot in
yep,
here.
Pandora's box here where it's all out there now. So,
Yeah.
and then, so as you're going through like yoga teacher training and everything, when did you realize that your daughter, you were in a good spot to start working on the grief of what
It
happened
was
to
very
you?
slowly. So I would say like within that first year, there was like stuff was coming up, but then I would keep on coming stuff, emotions.
Hmm.
And I would come back to that moment when she died, and I told myself in the mirror that it didn't matter. So then it would
Oh,
cancel out my healing. And it took
yeah.
me a very long time to heal from that moment that I told myself that, and to be able to slowly go in. So I would say like over the last 10 years, like every year I'm getting more and more comfortable with acknowledging that this happened to me. I mean, obviously, I know it happened to me, and I feel very
Yes.
comfortable with that. But it took me a very long time, and I'd say for years, I was maybe about 3 or 4 years healing, kind of like more in private,
Mm-hmm.
in my journal, on my
Mm-hmm.
yoga mat, and then I found like a really good grief counselor. She lives in Calgary. She was a coach now; she's going to be a therapist. But anyways, and then how did I even find her? I don't know, because slowly, like intuitively, I started to reach out to like pregnancy and infant loss centers, because I'm like, okay, this is like an emotional project that I need to deal with. I've healed from a lot from my mom and my dad and my sister, and like
Mm-hmm.
this is the big thing that's there. And then I was looking for more and more support like that. I took there's like a 6-week support course that I took, and so kind of just was trickling in like that, kind of like through the years, and then
Yeah.
worked with a grief coach, and then I think there was when I really, really started to fully acknowledge it, or felt more that I could embody it and allow it to not take over my life, but be in my life, like it's
Mm-hmm.
my life to live grieving, is when I told my son that he had a sister, which was 2 years ago.
And he would have been about seven-ish, is that
He was,
right?
yeah, yeah, 7, almost 7. Yeah.
Almost seven.
And
Okay.
he, for years, very interesting, would say, there's something between us, mom, and I don't know what it is.
Oh,
Something between us. And I was like, okay, I don't know. Like he can feel my emotional disconnection, but maybe his sister as well. And then the day that I told him is because he asked me straight up, like before breakfast one day, have you ever been pregnant before with a dead baby? And I said, yes, I did. Yeah, you have a sister. And then he's like, oh yeah. He's like, so I wasn't the firstborn. I was like, no. And that's when my grief was acknowledged. Like I acknowledged it with somebody else, in real life.
mhm, mhm.
Like
That didn't
in
know before, that didn't, yeah, didn't know you as, yeah, okay.
yeah, that's when it was like I wasn't alone anymore, and it felt like I didn't have to keep this secret. And because for years after my son was born, like his birthday comes and it's like the most saddest time of the year,
Yes. Yeah.
because you know what I
It's
mean. And
true. Yeah.
it's like birth, and there's birth, and then there's life and death, like all within 3 days. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, this is like, yeah. So then it was like a relief when I was able to tell him. And I remember he ran downstairs and he said, Daddy, did you know that mommy had a dead baby before me? And he said,
He says,
yes, I know.
yes, I'm very aware.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it just went on this whole journey of like, oh, I wasn't raised like death positive, and now I get to do this with my son. And he would ask all of these questions of, well, what was it like? And why did she die? And what did she look like? And just, you know,
He's
it was
curious. He wants to know who his sister was.
no. And it was really hard at the beginning, because I was like, no, like I get to decide when I grieve, right? Like this is my choice. But it's also hard when it's his sister as well.
Yeah.
And it's like navigating this journey of like, this is actually our collective grief. It's
Yeah.
not just mine. This is ours. This
Yeah.
is a human experience. Yeah.
And she's part of your family, and that affects how interact with him too. Like, so
Yeah.
yeah, very
Yeah.
much part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And I was very scared to tell him, but I also was prepared, and I had given him I had made a little necklace of a wave and it said, "I love you" from Naia. And I gave it to him when he asked me. It was
Oh,
really nice
oh,
because I had it prepared because I'm like, he will ask me eventually.
yeah.
I just had it on a shelf, and then he happened to ask me right beside the shelf.
And you're like, this is from, oh,
I'm like,
that's so
but
sweet.
then he said this. He's like, "Well, how did she give it to me? Where did she get?" Like he asked. He's very logical. He's like, "This doesn't make sense." He's like, "Did you make it?" And I'm like, "Yes, I made it." Like, yeah, but yeah, he appreciated it and he wears it very proudly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I wonder how he got the idea, because if you guys had never really talked about her
No,
or, um,
nothing. And there
and
was nothing around the house like for him to think that. But I think because he dreams about her and tells me all the time, like I think he was connected with her.
yeah,
There
yeah.
is connection with her. Yeah, yeah. And
And
was waiting for like
the when you
the right
were
time, being like, "Hey, I think mommy's okay to handle this grief
this,
that needs to be come up."
yeah.
Because I think he's a teacher, like our children are teachers, or bring us an
Yes.
opportunity to like connect deeper with everything in life. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So from that point, I know it's been kind of slowly happening, and did you feel like now that he knows, now that he's sharing, almost sharing in it, right? Are
mm,
you feeling that connection with him a little bit more? Is that when you realized, oh, I've been kind of blocking myself from him?
yeah, 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 yeah. Because over the years, like the more I felt whatever emotion that I didn't feel from the past, but the grief is a big, obviously, I would say the biggest one, the
Yeah.
biggest block. So it not only made me feel more connected to him, but also made me feel connected to Naya. And
Yeah.
then connected to myself and then the world. I was like, oh, okay. So then I was really ingraining emotional release as a missing piece in terms of like PEACE, like peace,
Yeah.
inner peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
That's
that's cool.
that's
And it's like,
cool.
cool, let's do this. Like, and then I just, yeah, I kept on deepening my learning and trying to understand this, like, the process of feeling and healing, but like seeing it as like a love machine. Like the more that I feel, the more love, the more grief that I feel,
Good.
the more love that I feel. And it just keeps
Yes.
on going. And I'm just like, this is cool. But trying to navigate the space that grief needs versus also living children need connection and attention.
Yeah.
That was very tricky.
Yeah.
And it still is.
Still is.
But that,
Exactly. Yeah. You're like, I want to show all the love and also give space for your daughter. And yeah, it is.
yeah, and I come to this realization more this year in integrating. It's like okay, I have to talk about that too. For a while, I couldn't tell people that I had two kids. It was very hard for me to do that,
Yes.
but now
Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
totally can do it fine. And people's faces are a little bit shocking because maybe I'm a little bit blunt sometimes, but it feels so good to be true to my experience.
Yes.
Yeah, feels really good to, yeah. And when I spend time doing grief work, or whether it's through dancing or movement or making art or doing listening time, whatever it is, it's like I get to spend time with both of my children, but in different ways,
Yeah.
which feels really nice. Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
does.
yeah,
Wow. Okay, I do want to ask you a few questions about that your pregnancy, because was Charles on board with trying to get pregnant that quickly?
yeah,
He was?
yeah.
Okay, he was.
He didn't. Yeah, there wasn't any. He said, if you're ready, then let's do
Okay.
that. I was, yeah, not ready, but I said it. I was like, yeah, it's
Yes,
fine.
exactly. Yeah, he's just there to try and support
Yeah,
us probably.
yeah,
Um And then I know you mentioned in our other discussion that you did not name Naya for a couple of years.
mhm.
Um, can you tell me that process when you were realizing she needed a name or you wanted
Yeah,
to
and I
name her?
yeah, when I go, yeah, and it was like all these slow little steps that made me like open up more to grief,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Hmm.
Um, yeah, I gonna say I can't remember the exact moment, but I just knew that there was something in me. I'm just like, okay, like this human existed, like she should have a name.
Hmm.
And then I remember, yeah. Oh, can I show you something? Or I don't know.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
little bottle. So I
Yeah.
had, yeah, around that time I got her ashes back, and then I put them in this bottle. Oh, that's so cute. They're not in here anymore. I can tell you the story of where they are after, but I have all these affirmations in here. But then her little baby, these were on her feet.
Oh, yes, exactly. The
Those were on her feet. But anyways, her ashes were in here, and then I wrote her name. It says Naia, and then her last name. But there's like a little wave, and then her birth and death date. But I had put this here, and yeah, that was just her name. Like there was just one day that I'm just like, this is her name, and I don't even think I asked my husband. I just said our daughter's name is Naia.
awesome. Yeah. If
Yeah.
you felt it that way, I think that's
I'm just like,
awesome.
"That's her name?" And he's like, "Okay, that's nice."
Well,
And
no,
then it
those are
yeah,
like really special to uh,
yeah,
those. I mean, naming a child is very important to like the process of a human being's life, right? I mean, like
yeah.
that's
And
that's a
then I
big
remember
deal.
feeling excited actually to tell my mom and my friends, and I'm like, "Well, my daughter's name is Naia." And they're like, "Oh, wow, that's a beautiful name." And it was nice.
Yeah,
It was, yeah, it was as if she was, well, alive, like her essence was coming more alive and true.
yeah,
And I often think when I think back of it, like she was stillborn, but she was stillborn. Like
yeah.
stillborn.
She
She
was
was
here.
stillborn. She's
She was
still,
here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And that was something that, yeah, she should have that honor of having a name. So I think that's beautiful.
yeah,
I am curious how obviously you've done a lot of uh, healing, a lot of
yeah.
processing, a lot of
In my life, yeah,
understanding
yeah.
in the last 10 years. And I am actually curious how you and your husband have been able to support each other, or if there were times when it was difficult to support each other. We did talk about how it was difficult at there be obviously at the very beginning
At
when
the
you were
beginning,
both
and
grieving
yeah,
very, very acutely. And so I'm wondering how your relationship has how that has looked as you've grieved over
this is,
the 10 years.
yeah. Yeah, and even just so our relationship went into like a healing. So we had this deep grief that happened, acute
Yes.
grief, and thrown into parenthood, and then kind of not talking about grief, and then my body's like longing to talk about her and like, heal, but then he's not really. So then in my mind, I'm like comparing myself, like, oh,
Mm,
he's grieving differently than me.
mhm.
And we'd had a few conversations of like, well, do you not care, or like, her anniversary's coming up, I want to do something, but he wouldn't bring it up.
Yeah.
So for a while I had to just to grieve on my own. And like I said, it was when we started to tell when I told my son, then it was more like he was starting to slowly open up more, um,
Gotcha.
about wanting to like grieve. And it's still, I mean, doesn't matter the levels, but like I'm quite open, and he's not there yet. He's definitely not there yet about this. um, but on terms of like emotional level, just grief and emotions in general, like we had to go through a lot of healing just because we each had to heal from different things from our childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Gotcha.
this whole journey of inner healing, yeah, it's a lot to navigate
It
with
is.
people's truth and projecting, and the grief. And grief is in many forms from many different aspects of our lives. Yeah. So yeah. And more recently, just because my husband can see that like I'm doing death doula training, I volunteer for different things, like this is becoming more of my life and my purpose. He actually asked me, he's like, okay, so like what are we doing this anniversary, when's this happening, like he's
Oh,
more aware, you know what
yeah.
I mean, of
That
what's
this is
happening.
something. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't going away, like
Yeah.
this isn't just a phase that I'm in, this is like, and somehow will be part of my life forever. Well, it is. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. It's
yeah,
changed you. So,
yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, navigating grief between spouses is, yeah, it can be tricky.
yeah,
And, but very, it's always surprising, like how different we grieve and what that looks like. So,
yeah. Yeah, because I remember talking to him last year, and I'm just like, because like April is a hard month, and then he's like, well, it's hard for you, but not for me. And then for a while, I was just like, but why? But I also know, like, we're different people, but I also know I had the physical trauma of giving birth to
yes.
her, which is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, and I'm curious. I wonder if he's because he saw her, like he opted to
yeah.
like
And
see her.
that was good. I think that was healthy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's interesting. And so I'm actually curious because I do think that this is a beautiful work that as you have uh gone into death like to be trained as a death doula, when
yeah.
did you decide to do that? Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, well, so early in my grieving process of learning how to feel, like I became, well, certified in many things. One of them was like a parent coach. So I started with like general emotions,
Yes.
and learned how to feel and all that stuff. And it just felt like the next step, because I'm like, if I want to acknowledge death in my own experience, like it's a great way to do it as a death doula with other people.
And to
Yeah,
be able to guide them through that because I
yeah,
like so
yeah.
I guess let's maybe I should back up and if you can tell us what a death doula is or what capacity that is because I think a lot of people don't still are like oh a doula like that's
Yeah, so like a death doula can be like there's like 4 main categories. Like you can help somebody, and then it could be pregnancy death
Mhm.
doula, it could be a general death doula, but it could be when you're preparing to die, or like you're preparing for the birth of a dead baby.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like the beginning. Or it could be you're preparing to create, they're already dead, and there's like the funeral arrangements,
Yes.
and then creating like legacy. And then there's also, you can do grief work like afterwards, and it could be acute grief, or it could be years later.
Yes.
So I could help with like anything like that. And I think just because I mean, I'm not done my training yet, but eventually I'll be doing like way more things. But when I saw myself go through this experience unsupported, and not having like this touchstone of like resources of like, you know
Yes.
what's going on, and you're going to be able to help me. And like, is this normal what I'm feeling right now? Or like, is this supposed to happen? Or like, just like a peer or somebody else who's already been through this, I was like,
Yeah.
that would have been very helpful. That would
Completely.
have been very, very helpful. And it took me years. So like, I knew maybe early on, I'm like, I got to do something with this. I just don't know what it is yet. And I
Yeah.
know I have a lot of healing to do. So it wasn't until about 2 years ago I signed up, but then I actually paused my registration for another year, because there was a lot of emotions that came up with that, because death in general is very heavy.
Yes. Mhm.
And then in the last year, I've been doing all of I'm pointing this way because my book's over there, but yeah, the work that needs to be done in order to be able to have the capacity to hold space for these kinds of
Yeah.
conversations,
Yeah.
experiences. Yeah.
It is yeah. That is an honorable work is all I can say,
Yeah.
because that is yeah, you're holding space for a lot of people and their emotions, and giving them
Yeah.
permission to be where they're at, to feel all that grief, which is, the denial, the anger, the
Yeah.
unbelief, all of it. You will be there for, and can
Yeah.
help with that. I think that's really, really beautiful.
Yeah. And just wanting to be this like educational piece of like the loss we could use. I don't like even to say to use it, but there is a beautiful opportunity to deepening your love for the lost child and everything in your life. And there's a beautiful process of emotional waves that can ebb and flow. And it's like, it can become this really beautiful dance, I guess, in life. And
Yes.
that's what I've been learning. Yeah.
Yeah. Julie and I chatted right before, because she is wearing a sweatshirt. And actually, would you mind sharing it with everybody and reading what it says, so that they can, I mean, those who are just listening on podcast can hear what it says, but
Okay,
go ahead.
so yeah, it says grief surfer. So I'm a grief surfer, and I allow my emotions to ebb and flow like waves rolling in the ocean.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, the biggest teaching I've gotten from grief, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for the beginning years, I'm like, oh, you just like go to therapy and you heal that thing, and then you're done.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, no, this is forever. I was like, well, geez,
Yeah,
yeah, I
right.
got to make this a lifestyle. And I'm like, I guess this is my purpose. So
I like
yeah,
that. Yeah, because it just doesn't go away, you guys. It just you change as a person. I feel like
and it
your
gets deeper.
ability. Yeah, and
I find it's like the deeper I could feel, like it's, I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing like it. And I can say now it's a gift. At the beginning, obviously, it feels like a gift
yeah,
from hell, but it's been like, yeah, a gift of sense of self, a gift of purpose, a gift of like, let's use the time that we have here on purpose, like be intentional and yeah, present.
and be able, yes,
Yeah,
present. Yes, that is
yeah,
a beautiful way of putting it. Because yeah, there are
yeah,
plenty of times that we want to numb out, right? Or we
yeah,
do things to not feel the hurt. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't means that you aren't able to feel the joy or the full capacity of all the other feelings that we may have. So,
yeah,
and there's plenty of wonderful things in life to enjoy too. So,
yeah. And I think I just went to was something else that came up of like, oh, because you said like, how did I know I was going to get into this
yes,
work?
yes, yeah.
Like, yeah, so like, because I started off, like I said, with other emotions or regular emotion or emotional well-being for people, and there always felt like something was missing, that I
Mhm.
wasn't acknowledging my full experience. So that's why I was like, oh, I have to more focus on like bringing grief into my life
Yeah,
and changing my or expanding my professional life like this. Yeah.
yeah. Would
Yeah.
you ever consider being a birth doula, a birth and I mean, would you
Yeah.
see
So
that
on
as kind of a
my vision board is to become like a full spectrum doula,
okay, yeah,
which to help people through like infertility and then getting pregnant, pregnancy after loss, like all of the
all of
steps.
those. And I mean, and what a wonderful like experience. I say
Yeah.
wonderful like in
Yeah.
quotations,
Yeah.
because I mean, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard
Yeah.
when you were going through it. I mean,
Yeah.
and
And to have emotional support would have been
uh,
just like
yeah,
way better. way
Totally.
better.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it would be beautiful to even help people from like infertility through all of those things and then to parenthood,
Yeah.
and then how they could be emotionally available for their kids so that their kids have the emotional support, so when life happens and
Yeah.
the hardships come, they're not going to be alone and they won't be traumatized.
Yeah.
So, and it's a
Yes.
win-win for everybody.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
So yeah.
I think that's so cool. That is
Yeah.
really, really neat that you're going down this path because I think we need lots of people need lots of support. And it is shocking to me how many times I will talk to different lost moms, lost dads, and their experience in the hospital. There have been so few people that have had good experience. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like where they felt like they were supported or they heard what they needed to hear so they could help them process the things that were happening to them.
Yeah.
So that's really, really
Yeah,
cool.
and because it makes it a lot difficult, way more difficult when it's years later, I find, to like go back into it,
Yeah.
and also takes away from your time with your living, if you have living children afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. I remember when I was pregnant with our son after our loss, I went to our therapist and she's like, "You know what? She asked me this question. She's like, what happened when your first son died?" And I was like, it was horrible and everything. She's like, what happened? What did people do around you? And I said, they took care of us. They took care of us. And she just, I just, she was just trying to help us. Like, if this happens again, people will take care
Oh,
of you.
yeah.
But then she's also, but so don't let that fear get in the way of you bonding with your child. Because I remember I was kind of like same thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I feel like this is the right thing to do, but I'm just so
Not right.
scared.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
like, there's going to be some fear, but also make sure that there's love too, that
Yeah.
is there. And it
Yeah.
just,
It's a miracle. Oh, I got
yeah,
goosebumps. Yeah.
yeah. So grateful for what she said to me because I really feel like, it was really joyous when he did come and also
Oh,
sad, right? It was so
yeah.
like, so sad too because you were missing somebody, but and then just so
Yeah.
joyful. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you to be in that space, Julie.
Yeah.
I think it's
Oh, to be able to do that.
wonderful.
Yeah. No, and I think it's really beautiful too, like of having a baby afterwards too, of like he's given me his opportunity for self-reflection of what I
Yes.
lost and like
Yes.
all these different milestones. I'm like, oh, like, yeah,
Yes.
like the grief, different opportunities to grieve just goes on. Yeah.
Yeah. It just
Yeah.
looks different as the years
It's
go
just
by.
different.
Yep,
Yeah.
it is. So,
Yeah.
Julie, this has been such a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And I wanted to, before we close up, is there anything that we may have missed or that you would like to offer as some closing advice to maybe somebody that is going through this right now?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to feel, or find somebody who will listen to how you're feeling without them trying to fix you. And feel your emotions for as long as you need to, because that's what's going to, I feel, bring you peace.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. That is, yes.
Yeah.
You just need to, yeah, feel the
Feel
feelings.
it
So.
and it'll make you feel so good afterwards. Yeah.
It really will. It really will.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, thank you again. I feel really uplifted and so grateful for your time and for your
Thank you.
insight. Super.
Yeah.
I felt like I went on a journey with you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I'm happy to share. Happy to share.
well, thank
Yeah.
you again.